4 days, 32 miles, from the vineyards of El Bierzo to the mountains of Galicia, ending in one of the most beloved towns on the Camino. In September 2025, Bob and I walked our second Camino Francés, slower this time, averaging a little over 10 miles each day. In this video, we're walking 52 kilometers or 32 miles from Ponferrada to O Cebreiro. Traditional Camino stages usually cover this in 2 days, but we took 4. This stretch includes one of the Camino's more sustained climbs, gaining about 625 meters or 2,000 feet before reaching Galicia. Day 34, Ponferrada to Cacabelos. The walk from Ponferrada to Cacabelos is 15.3 kilometers or 9.5 miles. Leaving Ponferrada, we passed its imposing Templar castle and crossed the Rio Sil, winding through the old town before entering the suburbs of Compostela. Here we stopped at the modern Ermita de Santa Maria de Compostela, known for its exterior frescoes. Nearby, a mural depicts the Virgin Mary levitating, commemorating the places where she's said to have appeared. We passed through Colombrianos and the olive trees at San Esteban and continued into Fuentes Nuevas, home of the modest Iglesia de Santa Maria de la Asunción, one of the churches I remembered fondly from our last Camino. Inside, above the baptistry, a fresco of the Last Supper fills the dome ceiling, an unexpected moment of awe in a modest village church. At the far end of Camponoraya, the Camino slips past a cluster of small Bierzo wineries before crossing the highway and returning to vineyards. We passed the 198.5 kilometer marker, less than 200 kilometers to Santiago, and from here on, nearly every distance marker felt worth celebrating. We ended the day in Cacabelos, staying at La Moncloa de San Lazaro, a former 13th century pilgrim hospital. The grounds include a reconstructed payosa, a round Roman-era dwelling, now cleverly repurposed as a wine shop. The whole place felt like quietly stepping back in time. Day 35, Cacabelos to Villafranca del Bierzo. The walk from Cacabelos to Villafranca del Bierzo is 8.3 kilometers or 5.2 miles. With a short day ahead, we enjoyed a slow breakfast before walking into Cacabelos' old town. We stopped at the Capilla de San Roque, one of our favorite Camino saints, often depicted with a dog carrying bread. In town, we started seeing pulperias and octopus murals, a sign we were getting closer to Galicia. After town, the route follows the highway briefly before reaching Pierros, where pilgrims can choose the direct route or the longer vineyard path through Valtui de Arriba. With time on our side, we took the longer way. Valtui de Arriba quietly preserves Bierzo's wine traditions, old vines, small cellars, and a rhythm that hasn't changed much for pilgrims or grapes. El Bierzo is known for Mencia and Godello wines, and legend holds that a medieval pilgrim introduced the grape that would eventually become Mencia, now unique to this region. Rolling hills carried us into Villafranca del Bierzo, where we stopped at the Iglesia de Santiago. Its north door, the Puerta del Pardon, allowed pilgrims who were too ill to continue to Santiago to receive absolution here instead. Villafranca sits in a river valley, meaning today's gentle arrival would be followed by a climb tomorrow. Our short day gave us time to explore. We began at the Iglesia de San Nicolas, then stepped into the Colegiata de Santa Maria, built in the late 12th and early 13th centuries. Its massive stone columns give it the presence of a cathedral, even though Villafranca was never a bishop's seat. Inside, devotional art reflects Franciscan spirituality. A later Baroque altarpiece adds radiating rays of light behind the Virgin Mary. We ended in the Jardín de la Alameda, a 19th century public garden long used by both locals and pilgrims. Day 36, Villafranca del Bierzo to Las Herrerías. The walk from Villafranca del Bierzo to Las Herrerías is 20.4 kilometers or 12.7 miles. This is a long day for us, so we left before sunrise. Crossing the river out of Villafranca, the Camino immediately begins to climb. For much of the day, it runs between two generations of road, the modern A6 Autovia and the older N6 National Road. The Camino briefly escapes the roadway at Pareje, then heads back to the N6. Just before Trabadelo, the Camino passes through an ancient chestnut forest, where the trees are so wide they can't be fully embraced, and many pilgrims pause to place a hand on them, acknowledging their age and endurance. We took a break in Trabadelo before continuing along the N6 through La Portella de Valcarce and Ambas Mestas. In Vega de Valcarce, we stopped for what may have been the best meal of our entire Camino, a delicious seafood paella. Leaving town, we looked up to see the castle ruins before crossing into Las Herrerías, a small mountain village where stone buildings and grazing cows share the landscape. Day 37, Las Herrerías to O Cebreiro. The walk up the mountain from Las Herrerías to O Cebreiro is a short 8 kilometers or 5 miles. Though short, this final day includes a sustained ascent of about 625 meters or 2,000 feet. The Camino climbs steadily through La Faba, past gardens filled with kale, a staple of caldo gallego, the local soup, and into traditional stone villages where livestock were often kept below living quarters. We took a break for café con leche in La Faba, seated next to some entertaining pygmy goats. Laguna marks the last village before Galicia and a chance for a break before the final uphill push. We can see horses coming up the trail behind us. This is an option out of Las Herrerías, but it must be arranged in advance. With a bit of excitement, we stopped at the Galicia side. We've now reached the final autonomous community on the Camino. O Cebreiro sits high on the ridge, with El Bierzo to the south and Galicia to the north. One of the oldest settlements on the Camino, it dates back to the Iron Age and is known for its Celtic-era poyosas. The Church of Santa Maria la Real is associated with a medieval Eucharistic miracle. The chalice and paten linked to that event are still preserved in the church. It's also the burial place of Elias Villena, who painted the yellow arrows that still guide pilgrims today. It's a special place. We found our lodging, enjoyed bowls of caldo gallego, watched the sunset, and called it a day. In our next video, we'll walk from O Cebreiro to Sarria, including the Monastery of Samos, a cattle drive on the Camino, and an 800-year-old chestnut tree. If you've enjoyed seeing this stage of the Camino, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Until then, Buen Camino.